Afghanistan. As has become very apparent, that cannot be done.
Objective 4. Help the Afghan people through development, education and democracy. The war may have begun as a pursuit of Al-Qaeda, but lofty ideals of helping Afghanistan's people were quickly grafted on to justifications for the invasion.
We see the work that's being done and the progression being done. I think if we weren't here, the progression of construction would be extremely slow. They would still carry on with their lives, but we're giving them a step up, I believe. So
it took 7 weeks to kick the remaining Al-Qaeda guys out of Afghanistan. Then at the Bonn conference in late 2001 and early 2002, there was a very maximalist set of nation-building objectives kind of tacked onto that military objective. And I think over time, people have realised that that was just far too ambitious a set of ideas for the resources that we allocated to it.
It's been estimated that of the $62 billion in aid pledged by international donors since Bonn in 2001, only 5% reached local Afghans.
Incredible sums have gone to Western officials and aid workers in Kabul. Even bigger sums have gone to contractors with enormous profits, enormous overheads, enormous payments for security. Huge payments have been made to consultants, many of whom have hardly actually done any work in Afghanistan. And then, of course, when money is given to the Afghan authorities, so much of it has been stolen and disappeared in the form of corruption.
Do you know Afghans call international assistance aeroplane aid? I don't know if you've ever heard that term. They say it flies from the west, touches down in Afghanistan and flies right back to the west. I think it's very true that a lot of the money that's been allocated has been wasted or has actually had a negative effect, because it's created money that's either gone to the enemy or gone to corrupt warlords or corrupt officials who've then used it to oppress or abuse the ordinary population, and it's created instability.
The opportunities now available to women and girls have certainly improved, particularly in major cities like Kabul. Only 5,000 girls were in school in 2001. Now 2.7 million are being educated across Afghanistan.
Quantitatively, there are much more schools. There's probably from less than 30, now 205. There's madrasas, but most of the gains are for boys. So, I mean, you could say they're making some progress in education, but you unfortunately still have a fairly conservative society. And so why things for women have changed, there's a big, big difference between urban and rural centres.
Some infrastructure in Afghanistan, like new roads, might be irreversible. But progress in areas such as women's rights and democracy may not survive the departure of most international forces in 2014.
There's no doubt that there have been some things succeeded. We've built who knows how many schools. Women have, they're serving in parliament. They have rights here and there. There's roads built. There has been some infrastructure done, and beyond question, there's some areas, especially in the southern part of the country, where it's more secure now than it was. No question about that. Those are all true statements, but they also, almost none of them matter. Virtually everywhere that we have picked our boots up, and this is open source, this is not classified information, you can read this online, the Taliban immediately comes back in to take over.
It's not like we've failed to achieve this worthy objective of democracy, we actually sold the Afghans down the river in a sense, because we've put in place this very centralised, very controlling government that has no plans to listen to what they want. And I think that's a really significant problem in Afghanistan. It's not like a minor issue that we got to fix. It's the heart of the problem.
I mean, I want to see democracy everywhere, but I'm not starry-eyed enough to think you're going to have it flourishing in Afghanistan in 10 years' time. We were never into that. We were always into retaliating and denying the capacity for al-Qaeda to come again, and we were successful in that, very successful.
But the ongoing conflict has meant that very far from being helped, a growing number of ordinary Afghans are paying the ultimate price. Last year, the number of civilian deaths went up for the 5th year in a row. More Afghan civilians were killed last year alone than the number of people who lost their lives in 2001's September 11 attacks. The UN estimates the Taliban were responsible for 77% of those deaths.
The population is the soft target for the Taliban, and throughout history, insurgents have always preferred to target members of their own community that collaborate with the outsider rather than target the outsider directly. And that's still the pattern in Afghanistan.
It doesn't matter to the Afghan people whether they kill them or the Taliban kills them or whether our accidents kill them. We brag about, oh, it's only 23% is the coalition and 77% is the Taliban. They don't care. And you can read open source material from the local media that they confirm this. It doesn't matter to them who does the killing. It matters to them that we can't stop it.
I mean, for them consistently to say, yes, we honorable can leave in 2014 and we're not leaving behind a mess, you have to say, yes, we're on track. Yes, we're making progress. Yes, things are getting better. And sometimes you think they're taking crazy pills, or you kind of want to smoke what they're smoking, you know. But sometimes I would like to get a general and sit to him and say, do you really believe that? Or is it something you have to say because you have now those years left and you want to get you guys out?
Objective 5. Train Afghanistan's army and police to secure their country. Since President Obama named 2014 as an exit date, the NATO mission has focused on increasing and improving local forces so they can take the lead in securing Afghanistan. The stated goal is to leave behind 195,000 competent Afghan soldiers and 157,000 police. But the challenges are formidable. Afghanistan's army is plagued by corruption, desertion, illiteracy and drug use. The reputation of the police is worse.
I think we've made massive progress, but I think we still have a huge way to go. And it's certainly not a done deal that we're going to get to where we need to be by the end of 2014. I'm quite sceptical about that.
The goal for us is to train a single brigade. Now, a brigade of the Afghan army is around 2,500 people, and it comprises about 4 groups called Kandaks of about 600 or so. And that's essentially the fighting force that we're trying to train up. Now, that force is patchy in terms of its quality and the training it's received. Part of it's going okay. Parts of it have a long way to go. But it is, as an organisation, moving in the right direction.
There has been progress, but as late as last October, no Afghan police units and only 1 army battalion were judged by the US Defence Department